Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Complete Sports Media's podcast. I'm your host, Darren Campbell, and very excited today. We have a special guest. His name is William Walley. He has the podcast, The World of Walley, and he has a lot of fun with it. It's very diverse, really, really fun to listen to and get his thoughts on the world and all the incredible people that he's able to bring into the podcast and have great conversations with. I really appreciate your time today. Wally, how are you? Thanks for joining the Complete Sports Media podcast.
Man, I appreciate the invitation. Like I said, I've got a chance to talk to quite a few folks, both conversations on my show with them, and then of course, like we're having now, conversations on other shows. And they never get old. Man, I could do this every day. If I made Joe Rogan money, I would do this every day.
Yeah, wouldn't we all? Exactly. Yeah. William decided to do a podcast. He wanted to create a podcast that he wanted to provide top-notch, compelling content that appeals to all ages and backgrounds. He said he wants to approach the podcast as a vehicle to deliver this information in a way that everyone, even the common man or woman, feels that the content speaks to them. And as I said, yeah, it's a really fun listen to. I'm really glad you reached out to us and said, you'd love to be a guest. That makes us really happy when we can reach out and touch people and have them want to be on. What was the reason why you said, hey, I'd love to be a guest?
Well, when I'm not actually recording episodes and getting them ready to put out on my own content, I do love to come on other shows. You guys hooked me from the beginning because the word sports was in the title. So I knew it had to be awesome because sports are awesome. I've been around sports since I've been able to walk. Nice. Played every type of sport that you could think of. Probably the only thing I haven't done would be rugby. I never tried rugby, although I kind of dabbled with the idea when I was in college. They had a club team there, and I said, nah, I don't think I want to break anything. I'd like to stay in one piece. And then, and that's pretty much it. I've pretty much tried everything else at least once in my life. I love to go to the golf course. I'm not any good at it, but I'm going to keep practicing, I guess, to the day I die. Played football and baseball and basketball and all that kind of stuff. Because like I said, you're up in the great Canadian area, but my problem is I'm from a small town in Mississippi called Columbia, which is probably about the size of one of your neighborhoods. A kid my size back then had to play sports because you just had to. Because when you're one of the biggest kids in school, the coaches come find you. So that's why I just fell in love with it. I've always been a baseball fan, especially. Played baseball all the way up into college, and just been hooked on it. I watch it every chance I get the opportunity to. And then, of course, I was able, through some vocational opportunities, to be surrounded by sports, especially collegiate athletics and, just crazy stuff. NASCAR, NASCAR is a huge thing down here. I'm not a huge NASCAR fan, but I have worked some of the events, and I've learned to appreciate the sport that it is, because I used to have the philosophy that, it can't take a whole lot of talent to drive 180 miles an hour in a circle. I mean, it's just hit the gas and, take a left. But after I was around it for a while, I realized it's pretty grueling, especially on the drivers and especially the crew. Yeah. So, like I said, I just have been afforded a lot of opportunities to be around sports, and a lot of in those endeavors, I've been able to be and to meet a lot of interesting people, people that in America we call them, idols, sports idols, or superstars, but I learned the more I was around people like that, they're a lot more like me, or I'm a lot more like them. I just didn't get the opportunity to be recognized like they do. And I've met some pretty humble individuals, and I've met some pretty arrogant individuals.
Right.
And, but, I guess that comes with fame and fortune and stuff like that. So I always take that stuff kind of with a grain of salt. People now, this little podcast I got, I've been doing it a little over a year. I'm probably sitting somewhere in the, I don't know, I'm probably somewhere between 20 and 25,000 downloads, which, for a year's worth, from a small town with no real promotion. I tell people all the time, I got into podcasting and had no idea what I was doing. I did everything that you could possibly do wrong when you started a podcast. And I survived it anyway. I'm sitting at probably around 80 or 85 episodes now it's been published. And I just have a lot of fun doing it. And I was talking to you before we got started. The concept was I was going to tell some of my stories, some of my crazy things, how in the world did I survive, some of the stupid things I did back when I was younger. But it turned into just a chance to meet a lot of interesting people. So that's just where it is right now.
Yeah, it definitely evolves. You think you have a direction that you want to go in, but once you start meeting interesting people and you start finding about their life stories, things start coming into your mind where you want it to go. I'm glad that you played all the sports. So did I. I wanted to play rugby too, but my dad actually said I couldn't. He said it was too violent, no padding. You're going to break something. But he allowed me to play all the other sports.
It looked extremely painful. See, I played football, but you got padding on in football, and you can get hurt doing that too. But rugby just looked like it looked like just raw brutality to me. I said, I'm gonna avoid that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm so glad that you're a baseball fan. Baseball was my biggest love growing up. I loved playing the game, loved watching the game. You said you ended up playing into college. Which college did you go to?
I did not make it. I did not actually get to play in college. I was recruited. I was going to sign a letter of intent to play at Mississippi State University. The problem was I injured my senior year in high school. I injured my shoulder. I was a pitcher for the majority of my time, my junior and senior year. Especially my senior year, I was going to be one of the pitchers in our rotation. And I actually heard it. After I had pitched a game, we had a doubleheader, and because the flu had kind of ravaged our team, instead of having to forfeit the second game, I chose to just play in the field, to fill spots. So I'm out in the outfield. I'm out there. I want to say he was either a freshman or a sophomore center fielder. I'm chasing the ball down to the fence. He doesn't call me off the fence. I have a little, collision with the fence, end up tearing my shoulder up.
Wow.
So, that's kind of the end of the dream, because back then, I graduated high school in 87. And back then there was no Dr. James Andrews. You didn't have this world renowned reconstructive guy that you could go to and he could fix you. We had a lot of people around here that were like, I think I can fix it. I don't know. I don't like to hear the word I think. I like to hear the word I know. And so it was never right. And even when it healed, I had lost so much velocity on my fastball, and I'd lost a lot of snap on my breaking ball. And at the college level, if you're not sharp, you wouldn't make it. So that's when I decided it was, time to move on. I continued to, be around the game. I loved being around the game. Some of the most fun I ever had was actually coaching the youngsters, especially after my son got old enough to play. That was one of the highlights of my world, was to being able to coach my own son in baseball. So, but yeah, I never got a chance to pitch at the college level. I would have. And the funny thing is I would have been on a team. If I would have been able to sign with them, I would have been on a team out of Starkville at Mississippi State that actually played in the College World Series while I would have been there, which that's that kind of takes the wind out of your sails, knowing that you could have actually played. And at that time, it was at the old Rosenblatt Stadium there in Omaha. Wow. So, that would have been a dream. You talking about a dream for a kid that grew up playing baseball, to be able to play college baseball at the College World Series would have been a dream realized.
Yeah, that would have been amazing. Wow. So do you follow Major League Baseball currently? Are you a fan of?
I do follow it. I don't really. When people ask me all the time, like, what's my favorite team? My favorite team will always be the Chicago Cubs. Okay. Always. I've been a Cubs fan forever. I mean, literally, my earliest memories, I was a Cubs fan. I do enjoy just watching baseball, though. I don't, as much as I want to see the Cubbies win, if they don't, it hurts me, and then I move on. But I just enjoy watching the game, because the psychology behind the game of baseball is what makes it so amazing.
Yeah.
Because there's so many games within the game.
Yeah.
It's always strategy. It's almost like a human chess match. I mean, it's if one manager makes one decision differently, or one player, hustles out one play harder, it affects the entire outcome of the game. And that's what makes the game of baseball so amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I fully agree. Funny enough, today is the opening of spring training for all the players. Pitchers and catchers reported last week, but this is opening day. And to me, it's a day that should be celebrated all across North America. It's finally we've got spring training baseball. We've got, reports and stories from all these major league camps. And I just love it. I look forward to it so much. I think, holy cow, October seems so short. It wasn't very long ago. It seems so short distance. And all of a sudden now we've got opening spring training. Yep.
This is the time of the year. A matter of fact, I'm actually, we're doing this interview, this conversation is going on. This is Monday.
Yeah.
Well, Friday of this week, I'm actually going to be in Starkville at the baseball game for the weekend series that they're having in Starkville. So it'd be good to be back. And they call Duty Noble Field, the baseball stadium at Mississippi State, they call it the Carnegie Hall of college baseball.
Nice.
So I'm going to be at the Carnegie Hall this upcoming weekend. So
wow.
I'm super excited about being back. I just love being in the stadium. I just love being around the people, because we were talking about it earlier. Fans in the stands make an event.
Yeah, of course. They sure do. Yeah. Yeah, I saw an Instagram post that you had with a baseball field in the background, and you said, the greatest game in the world. Here I am. I'm in sort of my heaven, just immediately.
Yeah, I'm telling you, that was the beginning of last season, because I remember being there, because I think the photo you're talking about, I actually have like a skull cap on. Like, it is freezing cold. It is, I want to say, just before first pitch, it was like 35 degrees. I'm thinking 35 degrees playing baseball. That is insane. But I wouldn't have traded it for anything.
Yeah, no kidding. Any really amazing baseball stories, encounters with players that people would know?
Well, the funny thing is, and this is a guy that nobody knows about right now, but I mean, you will, if his arm holds up and he doesn't have shoulder issues. Early in my podcast world, matter of fact, I went back and looked this up because I wasn't 100% sure. I think it was episode 10. So that's way back at the beginning when I first started. I interviewed a young man from right here in my hometown, a gentleman named Colby White.
Yep.
Now, Colby played at Mississippi State. He played his final 2 years of college baseball there. He actually played junior college baseball in Poplarville, Mississippi at Pearl River Community College, and did not get one scholarship, Division I scholarship opportunity out of high school, nothing. I mean, they didn't even get a sniff.
Damn.
And went to Pearl River, kind of converted his whole mindset, body, everything, and turned himself into a premier, a absolute flamethrower. Nice. He actually hit 100 on the gun during a game they played against Georgia his last season at Mississippi State. And that kind of put him on the radar. And he ended up getting drafted this past season by the Devil Rays, Tampa Bay Rays, not Devil, they dropped the Devil, the Tampa Bay Rays. And he got the spring training. We're talking about spring training. He got the spring training this past, this last season, and was down there for just a few days. He tells a story, because I was talking to him a few weeks ago. He told me the story about how he didn't even have his suitcase unpacked, and they told him to head home, that they shut the minor league season. At that point, they shut it down.
Oh, wow.
Heartbroken. Kid was heartbroken. But I didn't get a chance to talk to him this past Thursday. He said they were on an MLB call, and that was, I guess, telling them about their assignments and all that kind of stuff. So I'm assuming he is wherever they assigned him. I think they assigned him to like high A at this point. But had a chance to talk to him just a few days ago. Like I said, he's a guy you want to keep an eye out for, because, like I said, if he doesn't have arm issues, he will be at the major league level probably within just a couple of years. I've been really fortunate. This little community I live in, back when I was in high school, I had an opportunity to play against no less than 24 major league prospects that actually, they actually signed major league contracts, and they all made it to different levels of the, I don't believe any of them actually ever made it to the major league level out of this group, but I do know quite a few that made it to the AA and AAA level. And then, matter of fact, I've got an interview coming up. I believe it's this next upcoming weekend. I'm interviewing a gentleman named Jeff Fry. Now, I don't know if you remember Jeff Fry, but Jeff Fry played in the majors for 8 or 9 years. I know he played with the Rangers. I remember when he played with the Rangers, but now he's transitioned from pro baseball to he's now a sports agent. So we're going to talk about that transition, about being the scrawny kid that was always, overlooked, making his dream come true. And now he's transitioned, he still stays around the game. I joked with somebody the other day. I said, that would have been like the ultimate job for me, I think, even though I didn't get a chance to fulfill my MLB dream, but to be able to stay around the game like that would have just been absolutely amazing. So, and like I said, I've run into, I've had the opportunity to be around a lot of young men that have come up through the system. They've gone through the college ranks. They've made it into the minor league ranks. And like I said, one of the jobs I had, I did event security. We were talking about this earlier. And not only did I get a chance to do college football and college basketball, but I also did college baseball. And it's just to see those young people at that time in their life, some of them still kind of awestruck that they're just there. It just amazes them to be in front of that crowd. And then to see others that you can see it in their eyes. They know this is just a step. They know this is just another step to their eventual dream. So, and it's pretty evident too. I did tell a guy, I was interviewing with a guy out of New York that also has a sports themed show, and he asked me a question about something about the college dynamic. Oh yeah, because I was telling him a story about being on campus week in and week out, especially during college football season, and kind of watching the evolution of the kids, throughout the week, practice, and then they do media prep, and then they do, there's just a lot of stuff those kids do. And then they finally get that release by being able to get on the field, to get on the diamond, to get on the football field, to get on the softball field, basketball court, whatever. And that's their escape. And I told him, I said, the most amazing part of that was those kids were in their element, and they did not truly understand what was going on around them. Like 20 years from now, after they're long gone, their college or their pro career is over, they'll look back and finally grasp, what they were part of. Yeah. And there's a lot of kids that until 20 years from now, they'll never grasp what, they played an intricate part in a fan experience, in a university experience, in a sports experience. Some of them will be, they'll show videos of them 20 years from now, and they'll be like, well, I just played guard on my football team. Yeah, but 20 years from now, you threw the block that sprung the running back that that scored a touchdown, or you drove a ball to the gap that scored the winning run in in a playoff game or whatever. They don't understand that. But 20 years from now, they'll look back on it and think, man, I was part of history. Yeah. So, and that's the beauty of sports history. It's when it comes down to the element of sports, people don't really understand how important sports events are. Well, they didn't understand, I don't think, until this whole COVID thing happened. Right. Yeah. And then people like me and you that were so desensitized to, it's baseball season, it's football season, it's basketball, whatever, and being able to flip a game on. And, like we were talking about this, you never really noticed the crowd until the crowd's not there. Yeah. So, it's just weird how we don't appreciate a lot of things. Like from a sports standpoint, I appreciate so much more the experience now than I used to. That's like I was telling you before we got started. I worked event security for 8 years. Well, I never truly understood the concept of the fan experience until I stood on a field level at a college football game with with 80,000, people screaming their lungs out.
Yeah.
I told you 60,000 sounded like 600,000. Right. I mean, you can't imagine. That's another reason that I'm so, I'm so impressed with how these kids are able to perform in such a, under a microscope like that. It blows my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, it is incredible. And I wish young people understood how, they can, that experience that they're having can really give so many more people experiences. And one of the aims, for my podcast is just to try to put a little more sports into so many people's lives that maybe sports isn't as important to them. They have a lot more other passions and pursuits, but sports has given me so much. And I know how much it's given to so many people around the world when the pandemic hit and suddenly sports was stopped, it was the first time in my life where there wasn't anything to watch sports wise. And it was very hard. It was very difficult and very tough, but so happy that it came back. And I think almost everybody did appreciate it that much more. It suddenly gave you a sense of appreciation and made you realize how important it is to so many people's lives. It's escape, like you say, but it also is bringing so much joy to so many people, and that athleticism and like you say, 20 years from now, most people will look back on those experiences when they're in college, we're in the minor pros and things, and think, wow, I was part of that. I just had, a small part of it, but it meant so much to me and so much to so many other people.
You're talking about team sports. If it weren't for the best workers you'll ever have will be team sport people, because they understand the concept that one person can't be nearly as effective as a group can, especially if they all have the same mindset and the same work ethic. Yeah, I think it was I read this quote, and I'm probably going to get it wrong, so it'll be a paraphrase. And I think it was a linebackers coach from, I don't know, like Virginia Tech. I think it was an ACC school. Could have been Florida State. I don't remember. He said, uncoachable kids he said if the kid is uncoachable, then they're going to, he was emphasizing the point about them having a poor work ethic, and they were going to be, they were not going to show any kind of discipline, and they were not going to show any type of work ethic in the world, outside of sports.
Outside of sports, I see.
So, I don't remember exactly how he worded it, but he was talking about uncoachable kids, because you've probably played with some uncoachable kids.
Of course.
Yeah. I know I have.
Yeah.
And then I've played with some coaches' kids that needed to be in the bleachers and not on the field. So
yeah. There was a press conference today in San Diego. Fernando Tatis just signed his deal today. Officially, the longest baseball contract in history, 14 years. He got $340 million signed onto the bottom line. When you hear numbers like this, what does it make you think?
That's still not the craziest contract I've ever heard of. I mean, I've heard some ridiculous contracts. I saw it popped up on my social media feed, and I wasn't sure the exact amount because it just gave me the little headlines. So I didn't catch the bottom part, how much he actually got paid. I look at it like this, they got short careers, and if a organization is crazy enough to pay that kind of money to a single player, then I say get it.
Yeah.
That's just like somebody made a joke that the Tatis deal, Fernando Tatis Jr.'s deal would be ending if it played out to its duration, 14 years, that the New York Mets would still be paying Bobby Bonilla when that contract ended, which is insane.
That's insane.
Bobby Bonilla, somebody put this up on social media the other day. Bobby Bonilla's deal is going to pay him till he is something like 58 years old.
Oh
That's
my
the craziest deal I've ever heard of.
God. That is
Yeah.
crazy. Wow.
Because I know they used to
Yeah.
call it Bobby Bonilla Day. It used to come up on my feed. I used to, like on Facebook, I would save that memory so it would pop up every year because I
Right.
thought that was the funniest thing I'd ever heard of.
Yeah, that's amazing. I actually heard somebody mention that too the other day and thought, wow, poor Mets. And
Still collecting, what is it,
good on
what do they pay him?
Bonilla.
Isn't it $1 million a year or something like that they pay him? It's some crazy number. And the guy hadn't been in the league in 15 years.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah. Okay, you're a football guy as well. I understand Green Bay Packers are your team.
Oh my gosh, Green Bay. Oh, yellow and go, baby, yellow and go.
And you had a chance to meet the quarterback, MVP of the league this past year, Aaron Rodgers.
Yes, I did. I would go out. I would go out on a limb and say that that's he's probably he's a BFF of mine, maybe. No, I wouldn't say that. Actually, not only did I get a chance to meet him, being a Green Bay Packer fan, I got a chance to meet every living Green Bay quarterback,
wow,
except Lynn Dickey.
Wow.
Because Lynn Dickey lives in like New York or Pennsylvania or somewhere. He lives off somewhere else. But I got a chance to meet Bart Starr.
Wow.
Before he passed away. I got a chance to meet Brett Favre. I got a chance to meet Aaron Rodgers. And I take that back. I was going to get an opportunity to meet Don Majkowski. You remember the Magic Man, Majkowski?
Yeah.
But the event he was going to be at, he had to cancel because of a flight issue or something. So I didn't get a chance to meet him. But I would have. I was lined up to meet him at that event. But yeah, I actually because see Brett Favre. I not only have I met him, I actually I had 2 college classes with him.
Wow.
So I knew Favre back when he was just an absolute pain in the rear end, long before he became an NFL star. Yeah, he was one of those guys that was he had a very entitled mentality. Like he thought he deserved everything that he got.
I see.
But like I said, he attended University of Southern Mississippi, which is in Hattiesburg, which is about 30 miles from where I live. So, and I actually attended Southern also. Wow. Yeah, I actually threw Brett Favre early in my event security career. I actually threw Brett Favre out of the stadium at Hattiesburg. Yeah, he was down on the field level, very intoxicated and not being nice at all. And I actually was escorting myself and a couple of my guys was escorting him out of the stadium when his wife arrived. They were up in the suite level they were at, and she promised to keep him under control. So we escorted him to the suite, and that's where he stayed the remainder of the game.
I see.
So yeah, and then of course Aaron Rodgers. When I say pure happenstance that I stumbled across Aaron Rodgers, and here's the problem, I was working in an industry to where you cannot be a fan. You can't be a fanboy. You know what the term fanboy. You can't be a fanboy. No. You have to be professional. You have to, keep your. So I am I'm overseeing a contract at the University of Mississippi, or Ole Miss as it's commonly referred to. Ole Miss was playing Vanderbilt in a conference football game. Well, Vanderbilt's here was the problem. Here was the problem. We were told ahead of time that an MVP, I don't remember. They didn't use the term MVP. They used another term like A-lister or something. Okay. Was going to show up for Vanderbilt. Okay. Of course, it's racing through my mind. Who in the world could be an A-lister from Vanderbilt? So who could it be? The only person I could think of was Jay Cutler.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Right.
Now, let me tell you why we all thought it was going to be Jay Cutler. Because Jay Cutler was with the Chicago Bears at that time.
At the time. Okay.
Jay Cutler was going to be playing the New Orleans Saints that Sunday, the following day. So it made perfect sense. He was going to take a detour. He was going to catch his team playing ball and then go on to New Orleans because that was right on his way. So we're expecting, Cutler.
Right.
So I had a little detail ready. I had made contingency plans. We had it all. Well, then we find out at the last minute that no, they've changed their mind. It was what my client actually told me. I said, okay, no problem. So we're going about our business. We're doing our regular thing. We're keeping everybody happy. We're throwing a few drunks out, the usual.
Right.
So, which I don't know if you know or not, college kids in America drink large amounts of alcohol. Just putting that out there. Didn't know if you knew that or not. So large amounts. Right. All right. So everything's going fine. It's about halfway through the third quarter. I get a call on the radio. There's a situation in one of the sections up near the Vanderbilt, where the Vanderbilt fans and all, they're designated to sit. So I go up there. I asked the young lady at the top of the stairs, what's going on? She says, I don't know, but that guy right down there, they are worrying him to the point he can't enjoy it. No, he said that the fans are worrying the folks on I think it was row 6, to the point they can't enjoy the game. I happen to have another one of another young lady that was with me. At that point, she was kind of my oversight manager, because I had just recently started this contract. This is the largest contract I had run at this point for the company. So she was kind of hanging with me during football season to make sure I was doing everything right before they turned me loose.
I see.
So we walked down there. Sure enough, I look down. I walked down to aisle 6 and I peer down the aisle. And who do I see but Aaron Rodgers? And I turn to her and I say something very professional. I turned to her and I said, Jessica, that's Aaron Rodgers. She goes, get it together. I said, I got it together, but that's Aaron Rodgers. So anyway, I get his attention. I kind of wave him, because he's like right in the middle of the aisle. So I kind of wave him down to the end of the aisle. And he leans in and I said, I took a deep, swallowed real deep, caught my breath, because I was freaking out. And I said, excuse me, sir. We have a bit of a problem. I said, I've been told that you guys are having difficulty enjoying the event, because of the fans interfering with you. And he goes, yeah. I said, well, sir, I don't know if you understand this. And I said, I don't know if you understand this or not. I said, but you're Aaron Rodgers and you're kind of a big deal. And he goes, yeah, I can see that. I said, so then I'm thinking, the wheels are turning. I'm like, I got to come up with a solution. Because here's the problem. It's him. It's the girl that he's dating at that time, which was not Danica Patrick. I know Danica Patrick was connected at one time. This is before Danica Patrick. Okay. If the female was with him, I don't know if she was a model or something out of California. I don't remember. His parents, his mother and father, his sister, and her husband. So it's a whole row of them.
Wow.
I said, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Okay, here's what I'm going to do. In just 10 seconds, I came up with this. I said, sir, here's what I can do for you. I said, let me take you down to field level on Vanderbilt's sideline. You'll get an opportunity to watch the game, the remainder of the game, in peace. People won't bother you. I'll make sure that because they can't, fans couldn't access the field.
Nice.
I said, and then just before the game's over, I'll get you guys into my office. We can lock my office down and you guys will be, till we can get everybody kind of, out of the stadium to where you guys won't be hassled. Sounds like a fantastic idea, he says. So here he goes with me. So we're walking him and there's a line of fans a mile long trailing us down the. So finally, the young lady's with me, Jessica. It's a lot of younger kids, they're enamored by him. I understand that. And he understood that. That's what was so amazing. He understood it too.
Right.
She finally is so frustrated with this string of kids behind us. And she turns around and I'm just barks at him like, go away. The man is not going. She just lights into us. They all scatter. We get him down to field level. He gets a chance to watch his brother lead Vanderbilt back to the last second victory. I think they scored with like 30 seconds to go in the game to go ahead.
Nice.
I get him into my office, which my office actually was at field level. Like you come out through the tunnel and you're in my office. Like I could duck him off in the office, which is right there by Vanderbilt's locker room, which it all worked out.
Nice.
Because his brother, Jordan, I know you know Jordan,
Sure.
Jordan, who's a commentator now, he actually gets to come in my office and they visit for a few minutes and then he has to go back because, the coach is like, get your, he's there. So anyways, he goes back in. Jessica takes another guy with her and they go up and they get the parents, they get the girlfriend, they get the sister, and we got everybody
down. Oh, good.
So they're in my office, locked down. I mean, locked down.
Perfect.
And I tell Jessica, I said, Jessica, I said, well, I told one of my stadium managers, I put him in charge. I said, look, I said, get everybody down here, get them clocked out, get the stadium cleared. And I said, we need to get as many folks out of here as we can, as quickly as we can, in an orderly fashion, so I can get these folks to their vehicle. Because I had already asked campus security to help me get them out there. So that was worked out.
Great.
So, and then I got the opportunity. This is the most amazing part of the whole thing. I mean, after the whole fandom wore off, and he and I got to talking, and we just talked football. I mean, we talked about him playing high school ball. We talked about him playing college ball. Playing for Tedford out at California. We talked about him and Brett Favre. And he was candid with me. He's like, yeah, man, we and Brett, we weren't buddies. We didn't really get along well. And what was so funny is I told him where I was from, and he said, yeah. He said, well, Brett's from that area. I said, yeah, he's from like 30 miles from where I live. And I said, I wasn't a huge fan of him either because of his attitude. And so we had that kind of common bond there, and we just chatted. I mean, like we had known each other forever. His parents, I mean, I chatted with his parents. His parents were two of the nicest human beings I've ever met. Right. Matter of fact, that was, I'm trying to think what year that was. That was probably 6, 7 years ago. Might have even been 8 years ago. I think it was like 8 years ago. And that following Christmas, I won't say the game was in like October. That following Christmas and the following Christmas, I got a Christmas card from his mother.
Wow. Amazing.
So it was wild. I mean, we just had that was one of those experiences that kind of defined my whole opportunity working event security, because I ran into people periodically like that. And as I got to chatting with them, we got to talking, I realized that, we had a lot of common interest, and they weren't as hung up on their celebrity or their status as we are. When I got past the idea that he's Aaron Rodgers, he just became Aaron, and I became William, and we took photos together, and he gave myself and he gave Jessica, my supervisor, gave us a shout out on his radio station the following Tuesday, which is still a highlight of mine. That's a life highlight, to be called out by name by Aaron Rodgers on his radio show. So it's just weird, man. I mean, I had all kind of crazy experiences like that, but that's just how it is. I don't know. That's definitely going to be, if I live to be 100, that's definitely going to be a life highlight forever. So.
Yeah, it sounds like an experience of a lifetime, and most people don't get that much time. They do have that fandom experience, and then they clam up and they want an autograph and picture. They don't know what to say. They don't get the time to let their brain process a little bit. But luckily, because you removed him and you had the ability to spend some time, then you were able to
let me tell you a little side story off of that. Okay. Sure. So I had two of my supervisors, one of my gate supervisors and then one of my stadium supervisors. When everything kind of started clearing out, they approached the door, and they were, my gate supervisor, I told him later, I was joking, but I told him, I should have fired you, last week. He actually came to the door and he said, Mr. William, can my son use the bathroom? He's got to use it really bad. And I said, yeah, let him come on. So he came on, and he sent his son to the bathroom. But when I opened the door, they both slid in. Well, he's standing there, and he's like, man, dude, Aaron Rodgers, man, I love the way you spin it and all that. I mean, he's just trying to carry on this guy, and of course, the kid comes out of the bathroom and he takes a picture with the kid, and I'm hustling him out. Well, then I had another supervisor pull the same stunt, because I had two doors into my office. He pulls the same stunt. He slips in the backside and he's trying to get a picture with him. So I finally get him out, and I'm apologizing. I'm just sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. He said, dude, don't worry about it. He said, I understand. He said, you got a lot going on. I said, yes, sir, I do. He said, let's just sit here and chill a minute. He said, it'll clear out in a minute. So this is literally an hour into this experience. We finally are reaching a point where it's getting close that we can kind of get them, start putting a plan together to get them out. And he looks at me And this is how lost in the moment I was. You know, you would think if you had an hour with a guy that you admire as a sports figure, that you would have taken pictures with him, you would have asked for autographs, you'd have sign my chest or whatever, you just rip your shirt up, sign my chest, something stupid. Right. And I was so caught up in the moment that I didn't think or ask for any of that stuff.
Right.
So finally he looks at me and he goes, "Hey man," he said, "before I get out of here, man, you gonna take a picture with me?" I said, "Sir?" He goes, "You gonna take a picture with me?" I said, "Yes, sir, if you don't mind." He goes, "Man, come over here." So he grabs me around the shoulder. He said, "Man, we're buddies now," like this. And they're like, "Hey, take this picture." And he's, I'm a bald-headed guy, so he's rubbing on the top of my head. I'm like, this guy's crazy. He's the kind of guy that I truly believe that, he would never remember that experience. Like I said, it's 8 years ago, and he's met thousands of people since then. But, I'm pretty sure if I had 10 minutes to sit and chat with him again, I'd jog that memory and we'd be back like we were that day, just goofing around with each other, just being funny with each other. And, but that's the kind of stuff, he signed a couple items for me and he took some photos with me and I've still got all that stuff. But one thing about working event security or event management type stuff is you don't get a lot of opportunity to do that. Like I've had opportunities to meet a lot of these folks, but never had an opportunity to do that mainly because my company was like, "Dude, that's not professional. Let's don't do that." And I understand that, but you get lost in the moment. A lot of times you're so focused on trying to do your job effectively that you forget about it. And then after the fact, you're like, "Oh God, what did this dude's like you see what I'm saying?" I mean, you get lost in the moment. So,
oh, you sure do. Yeah. Unfortunately, as the contracts have gotten bigger and the fandom has gotten bigger, a lot of them unfortunately have the sort of attitude that you said you saw from Brett Favre, and not as many have the attitude that Aaron Rodgers had. The humbleness and ability to have conversations with regular folks and people they encounter. A lot of the egos have gotten out of control with most of the athletes, and it's one of the reasons why I started stepping away from doing that as a job. Is just, it was very challenging for me going into a locker room and knowing that most of them just thought they were way better than everybody else and they were going to give you that attitude. And I didn't like that attitude.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because I've seen some pretty brutal interviews in the locker room. Like you would ask the simplest question and they just explode on you. And I'm like, what in the world? I mean, I know you just played a game and I know your adrenaline's still going and I understand that you might have thought that was not the, the steps, like the stupidest question ever to ask, but man, you got to extend a little bit of courtesy and a little bit of respect to those folks. I mean, they're trying to do a job just like you did. So, and that's one thing I will say. I've never really had a really bad experience. I've had some folks that have, thought they were a little better than they actually were. But I've never had a really bad experience. I mean, I for example, Ray Guy, he also played at Southern Miss. Well, I had an opportunity to, have interactions with him periodically. And the saddest part of that thing is, Ray Guy, in my opinion, will probably go down. If I live to be 100, I'll still consider him probably the best punter that ever played in the game, the game of the NFL. Yep. And just see him now, broken body. He's got an alcohol issue. I mean, that's the kind of guy that I hate to see in that condition because he meant so much to the game.
Sure.
But you see a lot of that with a lot of the older athletes. I had an opportunity to meet Joe Namath, and I was super excited. Like, man, Joe Namath, Broadway Joe.
Wow.
And I remember walking away from that experience thinking, my God, what happened to him? I mean, this guy's he's broken. I mean, he's just, like he could barely get around. Like I had to help him. Me and another guy had to help him get out of the Yukon that he climbed out of and get back in the Yukon. And I understand he's an older man now, but I mean, you look at these guys as they're almost like superheroes. When you see them on the field, they're doing superhuman things. And then you see them in person and you go, man, what happened to these guys? So,
yeah, football can be tough. You see some old football players, and a lot of them are very broken down. And a lot of them, once the limelight was not shining on them anymore, a lot of them, had alcohol problems, drug problems,
Yeah.
went back to some depressing times, and their body, every morning they wake up and almost everything hurts, and
Yep.
it's got to be a tough life. That's why when we mentioned that contract earlier, I think they're paid fairly. If somebody's willing to pay them, get what you can get, and hopefully your life can be okay in the future.
Well, let's see. You said 14 years.
Yeah.
So that would put Tatis, if he played it out, to what, about 40 years old?
No, he's only 22, so 36.
Oh, is he just 22?
Yeah.
Yeah, he conceivably could play that long.
Yeah.
Now he'll be like Edgar Martinez. He'll probably play the last 7 or 8 years of it as a DH, but I'm just saying, with the DH rule, a guy like Edgar Martinez, honestly, I believe Martinez could have played another 4 or 5 years. He just chose to go home.
Yeah, no, one of the best hitters ever. Yeah, Edgar Martinez is one of my favorite players. And yeah, it was lucky that he was able to be with the Mariners and be the DH and, continue his career on and on.
Hey, I did see in the news, you talking about catching news articles. I saw in the news where, what's the guy's name? Julio Franco signed another 1-year deal with that team in Colombia or wherever he's playing now.
Wow, good for him.
He's like, that dude's got to be 60 years old.
Wow, amazing, incredible. Yeah, it's great. Baseball is one of those sports where you can play a little longer.
Keep hanging on, man. Just keep hanging on.
Yeah. Look at Tom Brady, won the Super Bowl.
I know. I started to say he looked like he was 30 out there playing, but that'd be a lie. He did look old, but
true. Yeah. I do have to mention my partners and sponsors really really quick. And then I want to just have you just mention some of those. You said in the bus, behind the scenes kind of thing. Just,
okay.
Yeah, just something. Just you can trigger your memory with that. And I'm just going to mention my partners and sponsors while you think about a behind the bus story type of a thing.
Okay.
Okay. Anchor has been a great partner and sponsor for Complete Sports Media. They've been fantastic at posting on multiple podcast platforms, and they call themselves the easiest place to make a podcast. So if you want to do what Wally and I do, you're good. Just go to anchorfm.com and follow the instructions. They'll be able to set you up. It's free, and it's a fantastic way to enjoy your life. Get a lot of passion behind what you love in your life. I want to mention Verbero, the hockey equipment and apparel company. They're the industry leader in technology, performance, and value. And the V350 stick is a stick that you need to get in your hands if you play hockey. It's explosive. It is light. The lightest stick on the market at 350 grams. We also have a sponsor, Pampas and Possibilities. They design and sell dried florals, floral arrangements, and do installations. They are designers of handmade curated things with West Coast vibes at very reasonable prices. And also Forever Living, the aloe vera company. They grow and manufacture aloe vera-based products for health and beauty. And you can find tons of details on CompleteSportsMedia.com, and you can purchase products at discounted rates there as well. So, so I heard a little bit about these, behind on the bus, kind of behind the scenes stories.
Back of the bus.
Back of the bus. Okay, that's what.
Back of the bus.
Yeah. Tell us one. Enlighten our listeners and viewers.
Well, see, the crazy thing is because when I was working in event security, I worked so many different. The variety of events was so wild. I mean, like I said, I worked Talladega Super Speedway. I worked the events at a place called Barber Motorsports, which is in Leeds, Alabama. Little podunk place outside of Birmingham that nobody knew anything about if it wasn't for this place. You roll out there, you come off the interstate, and you turn by the Bass Pro Shop, and you're driving down this little 2-lane country road, and it's like, there's no track out here. And then you top a hill, and there's like a $2.5 million open road style course out there, just in the middle of nowhere.
Wow, cool. That's awesome.
Like I said, I mentioned it earlier, I ran into Joe Namath. He was at one of those events. They were doing it was one of those open wheel, what's it called? IRL open wheel, Indy style cars.
Okay.
They were having this Grand Prix of Alabama, I think is what the event was called. And he was the Grand Marshal or the whatever it's called, the guy that's the one that celebrated gentlemen, start your engines. I guess that'd be Grand Marshal. Right. And so we get him out on the track, and this just Yukon pulls up, and it literally pulls up within 10 feet of the stage area. We had to help him get out of it because goes to get out. And the funniest thing is we're standing to each side of him, and he looks down at me, or he looks at the guy beside on the other side of me, who was actually older than I was at that time. And he said, hey, young man, can you help me, get out of here? And after we got him out and we was able to help him get to the stage, as he's up there giving his little speech, I looked at the guy beside me and I said, did he call you young man? He goes, yeah. He goes, dude, he must really be old. So he comes down off the stage. And of course, we helped him back into the Yukon, or into the, it was a Chevy, it was a black Yukon, because he was complaining about how hot the track was. And it was, it was the face of the sun hot, because it was in like July in the state of Alabama, which is already hot. And then you're on an asphalt track that's, it had to have been 200 degrees on the track.
Wow.
So he's he's 5 minutes on stage talking, and he comes out and he's got sweat running down both sides of his face. We get him in the Yukon. As we get him in the Yukon, he says, boys, you wanna hop in here? And he made a reference to some type of like medicinal marijuana or something. I don't remember what it was. It was some type of, it was a medicinal purpose. I don't remember exactly what he offered us. And I'm like, no, I think we're going to pass, sir. So he shut the door and he drives away.
Wow.
But like I said, that was just a crazy, that's just a chance encounter, because I had no idea. I was actually at the event helping, because I was, like I said, I was based out of Mississippi. I was just over there helping them out. Wow. And they're like, hey man, we need you to, be, down at the trackside, whatever. I had no idea what was going on. And then all of a sudden I opened the door and there's Joe Namath. So amazing. That's what I'm talking about, where you don't have you get lost in the moment.
Yeah. But that's great. That's so great.
Here's one quick crazy story for you from my Ole Miss days. The University of Alabama, even in Canada, y'all know the University of Alabama is pretty good. So anyway, the University of Alabama, when I came to Ole Miss to run the contract, Hugh Freeze was the coach at Ole Miss. Well, Hugh Freeze had been on campus about 2 weeks when I got there. So he and I essentially started at the same time. Well, they did something that had not been done in quite a while, except Auburn is the only one that had done it in the last 10 years. They actually beat Alabama back-to-back years. They beat them in Alabama, and then they beat them at Ole Miss.
Wow.
But when they beat them at Ole Miss, the fans stormed the field. The law enforcement gave up on it. They just told our guys to back off and let it happen. Yeah. So they're pouring onto the field. Thousands of people pouring on the field. They actually keep rocking one of the goalposts till they break it off from the ground.
Wow.
And then they tote that goalpost the length of the field out the other end of the stadium. They take it out of the stadium. They take it to what is called the Grove area, which is kind of a tailgating area that's famous there at the university. They take it through there. They stop, let people take photos, all that kind of stuff, moving, social media related video and all that kind of stuff. And then they walk it off campus and they go to the square, which is the downtown area of Oxford, which is about, walking, it's probably a good, it's right at a mile. It's probably 0.8 to a mile away. And they walk it to downtown Oxford.
Unbelievable.
And then the goalpost just vanishes. Like nobody knows where the goalpost is. And 2 days later, on a website like eBay or something, sections of the goalpost start showing up for sale. They had taken it and taken a cutting torch and had cut like 1 foot, or no, it was 10 inches. They were cutting 10-inch pieces of the goalpost up, and they were selling it online, whoever was doing it. And about 4 days after that incident, a package arrived at the university at the athletic department, and it was addressed to the not the sports information guy, the president, the university, the athletic director. It was addressed to the athletic director at that point. His name was Ross Bjork, was his name, and it was addressed to him. So his assistant gets it, which I knew his assistant because me and her had a lot of dealings together. And so at lunch that day, I see her and she's leaving to go to lunch, and I flagged her down. I said, I said, "Boy, this past weekend was crazy." She said, "That ain't nothing. You should saw what just showed up at Ross's office." I said, "What's that?" She said, "Somebody sent him a 10-inch section of the goalpost to keep in his office. Like it came in a protective case and everything."
Wow.
Like, you have got to be kidding me.
Wow.
They raised something like $12,000 from those goalpost sales. And then that money, eventually they said ended up back in the athletic fund, for like,
Good for them.
to help players and all that kind of stuff. So
good for them. Wow. Wow. That's amazing.
that's a crazy, I'll tell you, that's a crazy story, which I've had some
great.
crazy stuff happen like that, but that was one of the just stranger. I've had the streakers that we've had to tackle on the field, and I've had, we had Texas came to town, and it had been something like 45 or 50 years since Texas had played Ole Miss, and it was like in a bowl game then. Well, they came to Oxford, and supposedly, now I don't know where they came up with this number, but supposedly there was 100,000 people on campus that Saturday. Now, I don't know how they came up with that number. That sounds like a ridiculously insane number. I do know this. I saw an overhead that a guy did with a drone that had a infrared camera on it.
Okay.
And he took it up above the Grove. Now, you got to realize, when I say the Grove, I'm not talking about the size of a football stadium. The Grove is literally about 1 mile, or about like half a mile by half a mile. Like you're putting 50,000 people in the spot of a football field.
Wow.
I mean, essentially that's the size we're talking about.
Wow.
And he took a drone shot, and there was so many people that you couldn't make out. Like it was just one big red hot, like yellow.
Wow.
And you could see just little dots. It looked like somebody took an ink pen and just put dots on the screen. That's how many folks were there.
That's cool. That's great. Wow.
Now that's a fan story for you right there.
That is a fan story. That's so great. Yeah, that's amazing. And I love college sports. I love how in the US, college sports is just so huge. You're so passionate about your alma mater, and when your team wins, especially beating a team like Alabama. Wow.
Oh yeah.
That's
something
something you're not never
crazy. That was a crazy week right there.
Like.
That's matter of fact, we were talking about this offset. That's the week that I almost had to kill the ESPN radio guy.
I see.
That was the week.
That was
because college game day just happened to be there when it happened.
Amazing. Wow. Well, I've enjoyed this so much. This was a really, really fun podcast. I'm so glad you reached out to us, and I'm so glad that we could make the schedule happen and hear these fantastic stories. And I'm really glad that you started your podcast. You have fantastic stories, really great way of delivering them, and entertaining your viewers and listeners, and mine now too. So this has been fun. I'm sure we're going to do this again. I know that I get so much joy out of doing a podcast, and it sounds like you do as well. So our paths will cross again very soon, I'm sure. And thank you so much for your time today. This was fun.
Hey, sounds good. Appreciate it, man.
Okay. All the best to you. And I'll send you the link when I post it. And then we'll keep in touch over 2021. There's a lot of sporting events and a lot of things to discuss. And I'm sure, we'll have an opportunity to do this again.
Hey, can I drop my social media stuff before we get out of here?
Oh, of course you can. Yeah, please do.
Hey guys, for his listeners, you can check out any of my content. I've got a Facebook page, World of Walley, easy to search. And I'm on Instagram at World of Walley _official.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. And you can find World of Walley on Anchor FM and all the podcast platforms that Anchor placed. And this was, as I said, really, really enjoyable, and hope you have a great week. Thanks for making the time. Thanks for coming on.
Well, Darren, thank you, man. Invitation from Canada, man. Appreciate that.
You're very welcome.
Hey,
all the best.
Have a great day, man.
Yeah, you too. Take care of yourself.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Okay, we just said goodbye to William Walley there. That was a lot of fun. What a great guy, and what a great enjoyable conversation we had. So many funny stories, so many great stories from the world of sports and the event security that he provided at a lot of events. And we're going to have him on again in the Complete Sports Media Group. We've obviously got so many different avenues. He's told me that he has a lot of really great concert stories. He said that he's met everybody from ABBA to ZZ Top. So keep your eyes out for Complete Music Media and all the details there. And yeah, the World of Walley, great podcast, a lot of fun. He touches on a lot of diverse topics. So find him on your podcast platforms out there and YouTube. Okay, I just want before I go, I want to mention that our hearts are with the Joel family. Ross Joel, we saw him on Friday. Unfortunately, he had a stroke because of a brain aneurysm. He's in the ICU. Our thoughts and prayers are with him and his family. Because of the COVID situation, the family's not able to visit him. So our thoughts and prayers are out to you, Ross. Recover. We're really looking forward to getting a chance to seeing you soon as you can recover and get out of the hospital. We're so happy we saw you this past weekend. You made us laugh as always, and gave me so many great funny stories and laughs. And you're always your jovial self. Can't wait to see you again. Recover, get out of the hospital, and we'll get together and have a beer. Okay, take care of yourself. Thank you to all the listeners and viewers. I hope you enjoyed this podcast as much as I did. Tune in this week. We're going to have another podcast coming up really soon. And please tell your friends and family. And let's keep promoting this. I'm having as much fun as I could ever have. And I hope you are too. Take care of yourself. Bye for now.